Yo, what plant is that? What plant is
Hey,
that?
that's
What plant is
that's
that?
a pretty
What
flower,
plant is
my
that?
G.
What? What is that? That's neat.
Greetings. Here we have pony's foot, botanical name, scientific name, Dichondra carolinesis. This plant is a low growing plant, and as you'll notice, it has small kidney shaped leaves or leaves resembling a tiny but fat pony's foot. And you'll keep that in mind because with the stem of the plant, it forms a slight funnel on one side of the leaf, and it can have a small white or small pale yellow flower. In many places, it is used for landscaping, so you may find it various places all over the world because it does not grow very high or high enough to require cutting. And many people in past times have imported this plant so that they could try to make their entire lawn of this pony's foot so they wouldn't have to cut it at all. Pony's foot grows on runners that are generally on top of the ground, and runners is just like a thin, tough little root that each of the little leaves pops up from, and the runners can be easily snipped off with scissors. And what you want to do is look for this indentation and look for the runners also, and that will help you to properly identify this plant, as some have confused it for dollarweed, also called pennywort, also called gotu-kola, which is also an edible plant and also a medicinal plant that has similar uses to this pony's foot. And since that is generally the only confusion, there are no noted toxic lookalikes to date. Pony's foot is always described as an edible plant that you would eat raw, as cooking it would make it basically pointless, and it would shrivel it up to some tiny thing you cannot even pick up with a fork. And it is a bland green, eaten raw, and you can eat the stems and the leaves, but most people just eat the leaves of it. And since it is a bland green when it's small, similar to lettuce without the water content, it can be used in this stage to cut bitter tasting plants. So if you have something like dandelion or yellow dock or chicory, something that's bitter, you can mix this in with it, and it'll help it to be better tasting, help you get that bitterness down. But as it grows a little bit larger like the size of a nickel or a little bit bigger, it becomes slightly bitter, but not as bitter as the other mentioned plants. Pony's foot can be found to grow in the southeastern states of North America, also Mexico, and it has a relative that can be found all over the earth in the same family that is native to New Zealand and Australia, called Dichondra repens. And this variety is popular in many Chinese blends, and it is used as a whole plant decoction, which is basically a strong tea made by simmering in water for about 15 to 20 minutes. Pony's foot is a plant that can be found year-round and is even capable of surviving freezing temperatures. Now, to categorize it as edible or medicinal, for this one, we will say very likely possibly, because the documented places for medical uses of dichondra is under the Dichondra repens species that is used in Chinese medicine. And I would be inclined to suspect that this variety, Dichondra carolinesis, would also hold a similar medicinal value. It is used to remove heat, alleviate fevers, reduce swelling, so being anti-inflammatory, and it is useful in the cases of jaundice by aiding the kidneys in being diuretic and moving calculi, which are mineral deposits that block the urinary system, mostly calcium, and it would even help to aid in removal of kidney stones in this process, stopping them before they develop. It enhances blood circulation, lowers blood pressure, and it is even styptic in stopping bleeding in the cases of coughing up blood. Again, it has been used to successfully cover jaundice, dysentery, difficulty urinating, cloudy urine, swelling, and boils. So you will see that the common name that it is called in New Zealand and Australia, where it is native to, is actually proper. It is called kidney weed. It is shaped like a kidney and works on the kidneys. And this goes back again to another plant showing that it is under the doctrine of signatures. Hope you've been able to gain something from this. Thank you for your time. Peace.
If you have any existing health concerns, take that into consideration. If you are taking any medications at this time, take that into consideration and allow a 2 to 3 hour window before consuming plants medicinally. Do not take anything that you are not sure of or that you have not properly identified. If you have any further concerns, do not consume the plant. If you would like to know what other medical implications may come about from going back to a more natural life, to a more traditional lifestyle, after you have properly identified and know the uses of plants thoroughly, and you are still concerned, of course, consult your local drug dealing doctor.
I just love. See?